All right, so today we are going to learn how to fill in the unit circle. And I'm going to hide this for 1 minute so we have enough space. Um, so on here, so this is a blank unit circle. I uploaded a copy of this to OneNote so you can either print it out and fill it in, or if you don't have a printer, that's fine. You can do it just on a piece of paper. It's up to you. So when we fill in the unit circle, we are going to have degree measures that go all the way around, radian measures, which are going to be on these dashes, and then coordinate points. So we're going to go through each one. I'm going to show you step by step how to, there's kind of like a system to doing it. And first, we are going to start with degrees. So the main degrees that we should know right off the bat, um, 0, 90, 180, and then down at the bottom, 270. So let's fill those in. So 0, up here we have 90, 180, at the bottom, 270. My degrees, that's okay. And I'm going to write 360 under 0 because 0 degrees is the same as 360. So those are the angle measures we know so far. And you'll notice there's other angle measures in here. So we are going to fill those in by counting. So first we're going to do 45 degrees. So this first quadrant here is 30, 45, and 60. So for 30 degrees, I'm going to change the color of my pen just because I like to color coordinate things. So if you want to do this as well and make all of your angles, you'll see what I mean, like the matching angles. So all of the ones in the middle, I am just going to go over it in a green stripe because all the ones in the middle are going to have matching coordinate points. And when we do the counting process, those are the ones we want to land on. So first, starting with this is 45 degrees. So keep in mind the unit circle, once you create it, there's only one unit circle. So these angle measures will always be what they are for the unit circle. So now I want to do multiples of 45. So this is 0 to 45. If we add 45, that brings us to 90, which is already filled in. If we add 45 to 90, that brings us to 135. And that would be our next green angle measure. Moving on, so add 45 to 135, we get 180, so already filled in. When we add 45 again, our next green point, so we're adding 45 to 180, we get 225. So 225. Let me write that 5 a little better. 225. Then we add 45 again, that brings us to 270. You add 45 again, it brings you to 315. And that is all of our angle measures. Sorry, my pen is not working very well. So 315. Okay, so that's the 45-degree angles. Start here, you count 45. If it's already filled in, you leave it alone. Next, we're going to do the 30-degree and 60-degree, and you actually have to do these together. So the way you tell the difference, all the ones that go with 30 degrees are these lines that are closest to the x-axis. So we're going to make those all one color. I'm going to do purple. So all of the lines that are closest to the x-axis, I'm going to trace in purple. Those are going to go with my 30 degrees. And then all of the ones closest to the y-axis. So up here, let's see, we'll pick a different color. I'll pick red. those are, okay, came out orange, that's all right. Those are the angles that go with 60 degrees. So I like to color coordinate first because then I know which one goes with 30, which one goes with 60. Okay, and that is with my 60 degrees. So now I'm going to count by 30s. So 30 plus 30 is 60. It's already filled in. Leave it alone. Add another 30, we get 90. Add another 30, we get 120. So since it's an orange reddish angle, it goes with 60. It's going to have a matching coordinate point with 60. Add 30 again, brings us to 150. So that is a purple angle, 150. Add 30 again, we get 180. Add 30 again, we get 210. Once again, purple angle. Add 30 again, we get 240, back to the red. Add 30 again, we get 270. Add 30 again, we get 300. Add 30 again, we get 330. All right, so all of my degree measures are filled in. Perfect. Now we need to go through and do radians. So you could fill in each of the radians by doing the conversion formula, so multiplying this by pi over 180, but obviously that's going to take a lot of time, so I'm going to show you a different way to do it. I'm going to start here. I guess we'll start with 45 degrees. If you were to convert 45 degrees to radians, you get pi over 4. You can do that out using the formula. So like if you went over here, 45 times pi over 180. 45 divided by, or 180 divided by 45 is 4. So you end up getting, like this would simplify, 45 pi over 180 simplifies to pi over 4. So that's how I got that, but you don't need to do out all that work. So I'll erase it. Okay. So this is 1 pi over 4. Now, 2 pi's over 4. So if we added another pi over 4 would bring us to 90. Because keep in mind, if we added 45, we get 90. So pi over 4, 2 pi over 4 becomes pi over 2. So I'm going to say that again. This is 1 pi over 4. I add a second, so 2 pi over 4 equals pi over 2 if I simplify. So that is a blue angle. So 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4. If I add 3 pi over 4, I end up at 135, my next 45-degree angle. Down here is 4 pi over 4, which is just pi. Next, so 4 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4. 5 pi over 4. I add another pi over 4. I get 6 pi over 4, which 6 pi over 4, if we divide both by 2, you get 3 pi over 2. So that's 6 pi over 4. And then I have 7 pi over 4. My next angle. And then brings me to 8 pi over 4, which is 2 pi. So I'm going to fill in 0 degrees is the same thing as 0 radians, and then here, this would be 2 pi. So now, so that's the 45 degrees. If I wanted to do 30 degrees, so if I did that same process, multiplying it by pi over 180, I would get pi over 6. And that is my 30 degree. And once again, we have to do these together. So 1 pi over 6, 60 becomes 2 pi over 6. But 2 pi over 6 simplifies. Instead of 2 pi over 6, it can just be pi over 3. So that's how we're going to write it, pi over 3. All right, so 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6 is pi over 3. 3 pi over 6 becomes pi over 2 because 3 over 6 is 1 over 2. So 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6. So 4 pi over 6, we can simplify to 2 pi over 3. So 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6 goes with, that's a pi. 5 pi over 6 goes with 150. So notice the ones that are red both are over 3. They simplified. The ones that are purple did not. They both have over 6. And then 6 pi over 6 is just pi. Here we have 7 pi over 6. So once again, it's purple, so it doesn't simplify. It has a denominator of 6. Next one, 8 pi over 6, it does simplify because it's a red one. So 4 pi over 3. 8 pi over 6. 9 pi over 6 is 3 pi over 2. 10 pi over 6 simplifies to 5 pi over 3. And then the last one is 11 pi over 6. And that is how you fill in the angle measures for your unit circle. So I would suggest if you printed this out, maybe highlighting the lines or drawing on it with a colored marker if you have access to that, because I think the color differentiation definitely helps. So in the next video, we'll be filling in the coordinate points.